There's now a cheap Ryzen X3D CPU for everyone. Welcome back to PC Builder, I'm Jason. The Ryzen 7600X3D and 7500X3D are now widely available in the US and global markets for as little as $240 US, making them insanely powerful and affordable gaming CPU choices. And with GPU and RAM prices coming down, you can build an affordable gaming PC capable of huge FPS at 1440p for less than $1,500. In this best Ryzen 7600X3D and 7500X3D build guide, we're going to go through the best motherboards, RAM, coolers, and more for your next high-powered gaming PC build. And we'll give you specific build lists for a premium Ryzen 7600X3D build and a value-focused Ryzen 7600X3D gaming PC build. Let's jump into it. This video is sponsored by VIP SCD Key. Say goodbye to crazy expensive Windows licenses and that terrible Activate Windows watermark. Right now, use the links in the video description, head over to VIP SCD Key, and get a Windows 11 OEM license for a great price. Pick your product license, then use the PC Builder discount code PC25 for an additional 30% off. Go to the activation settings on your PC, put in the code, and boom! Windows is fully licensed for a crazy low price. And they have Microsoft Office licenses too. Use the links in the video description. So what's the performance difference between the Ryzen 7600X, 7500X3D, 7600X3D, and higher-end X3D parts like the 7800X3D? Well, TechSpot recently tested all the Ryzen X3D CPUs with an RTX 5090 at 1080p high settings across 14 games. The Ryzen 7800X3D, it was only 11% faster than the 7500X3D. Only 6% faster than the Ryzen 7600X3D. By comparison, TechSpot's 7500X3D review showed it was 10% faster than the Ryzen 9600X, 16% faster than the Ryzen 7600X. The Ryzen 7800X3D sells right now for about $380, the 7500X3D sells for just under $300, and the Ryzen 7600X3D is available at Amazon in the US for only $240, while both the Ryzen 9600X and 7600X sell for around $180. That makes the Ryzen 7600X3D and 7500X3D amazing value for those with upper mid-range GPUs who want more gaming CPU performance without spending much more. So what's the best graphics card for the Ryzen 7600X3D and Ryzen 7500X3D? Well, when building a gaming PC, we want to get the biggest, fastest graphics card that we can afford, then you just want to get a CPU platform that won't overly bottleneck our GPU. But as our GPU power goes up, the more important the CPU can become, especially in competitive titles like CS2, Battlefield 6, or Arc Raiders, where gamers turn down the settings to get higher FPS. Given that these Ryzen 5 X3D CPUs are only about $60 to $120 more expensive than the Ryzen 7600X or 9600X, it makes jumping up in CPU power much more attractive for even mid-range GPUs like the Radeon RX 9070 or RTX 5070. Given current GPU pricing, my advice will be to get a minimum of an RTX 5060 Ti 16GB or RX 9060 XT 16GB, but more appropriately, the RTX 5070 or RX 9070. And graphics cards like the RX 9070 XT and 5070 Ti will especially benefit from the extra CPU V-cache while keeping everything in your budget. You can go up to an RTX 5080, but at that point, I would consider spending a little bit extra money moving up to either a Ryzen 7800X3D or a 9800X3D. In our build, we went with the Power Color RX 9070 XT 16GB GPU. So what's the best RAM for the Ryzen 7600X3D and 7500X3D? Well, as I film this, obviously we're still in the RAM pricing apocalypse. But the good news here, DDR5 RAM prices are coming down, and RAM combo deals might also help. Ryzen X3D CPUs have so much V-cache that they really just don't care about the RAM speed the way a Ryzen 7600 would. So you should feel free to get any DDR5 5200 CL40 or faster kit. Now, we went through how to find great RAM deals even in 2026 in our Best RAM for Gaming 2026 video, so check that out for more details. In 2026, 16GB of RAM is fine for gaming, and you can get kits starting around $220, or combo deals that offer bigger discounts like this Newegg combo for $300 with an ASUS TUF B850 M-E motherboard and 16GB of RGB DDR5 RAM, which makes the RAM about $140. 32GB of DDR5 can be found for around $320 to $360. Just remember, we want 2-stick kits as 4 sticks do not work well with DDR5 memory controllers at the speeds we want, and you'll want to jump into the BIOS and enable either XMP or EXPO one-click auto overclocking profiles to get the full rated speed. All AM5 motherboards that I've seen will use either EXPO or XMP timings, and there's essentially no performance difference between them. In our build, we went with a 16GB RGB Team Group kit, DDR5 6000 CL38. So what's the best motherboard for the Ryzen 7600X3D and Ryzen 7500X3D? Well, you can check out our Best Ryzen Motherboard 2026 video for a full range of options. Now, a lot of RAM combo deals come with pretty high-end motherboards, and those are generally very good for these CPUs. But if you are buying your own motherboard outside of a combo deal, what should you look for? Well, A620 and B840 motherboards, they don't allow the use of AMD's auto overclocking feature called Precision Boost Overdrive, or PBO for short. Given most of the uplift on the CPU is from the V-cache, we don't see that much extra performance using PBO, and it will make our CPU run a little bit hotter, so it's optional if you want to use this feature. But given those motherboards are often the same price as B650, B650E, and B850 motherboards, I lean towards at least having the option to turn it on for this CPU or a future CPU upgrade. All X870, X870E, along with all B650E and most B850 motherboards have a PCIe Gen 5 GPU slot. It's still doubtful whether this will ever be useful, as even an RTX 5090 runs just fine on PCIe Gen 4, but if you can get it for free, my advice is to take it. But if you do find a deal on a B650 motherboard, it's likely fine as well. For those of you wondering about ASRock motherboards, I did a whole video at the beginning of 2026 analyzing data on previous X3D failures. I feel that ASRock has fixed their issues with the latest BIOS. And it's clear from the data that there was never any ASRock specific issue with the 7000 series X3D parts like the 7800 X3D anyway. So feel free to grab an ASRock motherboard. Just make sure to update it to the latest BIOS. Motherboard prices have dropped a lot since the start of 2026. Value picks start around $100 in the US, and they include basic audio, 2 to 3 M.2 slots, decent but not amazing VRMs, and solid but not amazing rear panel USB connectivity. The ASRock B850M-X, it's a great budget AM5 motherboard with 4 high-speed USB ports, including a Type-C, 2 USB 2.0 ports, 2 M.2 NVMe SSD slots, and nice black styling for $100, with a currently overpriced Wi-Fi version at $130. You'll find a ton of options at $130, including Wi-Fi enabled boards like the Gigabyte B850M Eagle Wi-Fi with 4 high-speed USB ports, including a Type-C, 4 USB 2.0 ports, built-in rear I/O shield, and decent VRMs with 2 M.2 SSD slots for about $130. Or for $20 more, you can get the Gigabyte B850M Gaming X. It has a slightly better VRM and a more gamery styling. ASRock has a number of motherboards like the B850M Pro-A with good features, and its new Challenger refresh with Wi-Fi, a built-in rear I/O shield, 6 high-speed USB ports, 2 USB 2.0 ports along with nice styling, and 2 M.2 NVMe's for $130. MSI has their Pro B850M-P with similar specs for $150, but at this price we're already bumping into better mid-range and even more premium motherboards. Moving over to the mid-range, which is often outmatched by huge deals on more premium motherboards, so double check that before you buy one. Now, there are often deals on good mid-range motherboards like the MSI B850 Gaming Plus Wi-Fi, which is on sale at the time of filming for just $129. Comes with similar features to the B850M-P, but adds a third M.2 NVMe SSD slot. ASRock's B850 Pro-A is another great motherboard with 4 M.2 SSD slots, though one of them is half bandwidth, along with 6 high-speed USB ports, 6 USB 2.0 ports for about $140. The Asus B850 and B650E Max Gaming Wi-Fi motherboards, they're also fine, but with weaker features. They usually sell around $140 to $160. For premium motherboards, we're looking for 3 full bandwidth M.2 drives with at least 2 having heat sinks, built-in rear I/O plate with good USB connectivity, upgraded audio codec to ALC 1200, 1220, or 4080, strong VRMs, and of course, we want it to look amazing. Pricing for these motherboards has been as low as $140 to $160 this year, though right now at the time of filming, they're sitting more like $170 to $200. My current top pick has been the Asus TUF B650E Plus with upgraded ALC 1220 audio, 3 full bandwidth M.2 NVMe SSD slots with covers, decent but not amazing rear USB connectivity, and Wi-Fi 6E. I also think it just looks fantastic, and it has been selling for just $145, though at the time of filming it's bounced up to $190, which is way too much. But click the link in the video description to see the current pricing. The B850 TUF version ups the speed of 4 USB 2.0 ports, so they're all fast, and adds Wi-Fi 7, and right now it's selling for $180, which is a pretty good deal. But the X870 TUF improves on all these features. It's only $8 more, so that would be my pick right now. If you don't mind losing the PCIe Gen 5 GPU slot, there are also a number of premium B650 motherboards like the TUF B650-Plus and Strix B650-A for around $140 while supplies last. ASRock has a B850 live mixer with an insane amount of USB connectivity, 6 high-speed USB ports including a Type-C, 8 USB 2.0 ports, really nice styling, Wi-Fi, and costs just $145 at the time of filming. You can also check out the Gigabyte B850 AOS Elite, which overall is a good motherboard. It's overpriced right now at the time of filming at $200. Same goes for the MSI B850 Tomahawk. I like the motherboard a lot, but the pricing at $200 is a little overpriced. So check those links in the video description because they do go on sale. So what's the best CPU cooler for the Ryzen 7600X3D and 7500X3D? Good news here, these CPUs, they are almost as easy to cool as their non-X3D versions, like the Ryzen 7600X or 9600X. They have a base TDP of just 65 watts, so even a budget tower air cooler like our Thermalright Assassin X120 Digital, it's easily capable of cooling the CPU under full load. Both the Ryzen 7600X3D and 7500X3D have max temperatures of 89 degrees Celsius. That's where they're going to thermal throttle. But in a 10-minute Cinebench multi-threaded torture test, this setup here peaked at just 79 degrees Celsius and held a steady state closer to 77 degrees, which is well within normal operating conditions. And I'd recommend any good quality budget tower air cooler for between $15 and $30, like the id Cooling SE214XT. The Thermalright Assassin X Digital that we used in our build was just $24. The Cooler Master Hyper 212 or the similar style Halo 212, or any other type of budget tower air cooler. Because the V-cache on the Ryzen 7000 X3D CPUs is on the top of the CPU, it does make cooling a little bit more difficult, and I did notice a few more temperature spikes with the single tower cooler during regular usage than I normally see with like a Ryzen 7600X or 9600X. The fan spins up a little bit and the noise isn't bad, but if you're particularly sensitive to that, then either adjust the fan curve or consider going with an affordable 240mm all-in-one liquid cooler to even out the fan noise, like the Thermalright Aqua Elite V6, Sema L70, or id Cooling FX240. So what's the best SSD for the Ryzen 7600X3D and 7500X3D? Well, SSD storage, it's the other major pain point in 2026. Prices have come up from about $60 per terabyte late last year to about $140 per terabyte at the time of filming. My advice here, just make sure you do not overspend. While a drive with a DRAM cache, it's nice when you regularly do very large file writes. Honestly, most users, you just don't do this very often. So my advice here, just get the storage you need, and a DRAM-less PCIe Gen 3 or Gen 4 NVMe SSD can be picked up for about $130 to $160, depending on your market, like the Patriot P400 Lite for $140 right now. Note there is a sizable discount on a per terabyte basis if you get a 2 terabyte drive, and again, even more savings on a 4 terabyte drive. So if you need that much storage, get a single high capacity drive rather than separate drives, and it'll save you some money. I'll leave some good value drives linked down in the video description. All right, let's talk about the PC case, because like a lot of other components, PC cases have seen big price cuts. That's great because while we want good airflow, we don't want to overspend, and we want it to look amazing. Ideally, we want at least 2 intake and 1 exhaust fan, though more airflow is always better. Most cases today come in either black or white options, so you can customize your build. Now, great budget options can be had for as little as about $50, starting with micro ATX case options like the Phanteks XT-M3 or the BitPhoenix Nova Mesh, both with 2 intake and 1 exhaust fan, and the BitPhoenix comes in both black and white. We use the Thermaltake TG170 micro ATX PC case with 3 included ARGB fans for $60. I like this case a lot, except for the cable management. We had to run the motherboard power cable either up from the bottom or behind the motherboard, and we ended up doing. It is a little bit of a pain, but it does look quite nice. I added 2 fans at the top for some additional thermal testing, but honestly, I don't think you need them, although they do help illuminate the build. The Okonos Aqua 3 is a little easier on the cable management for the same price, and it's a little bit smaller for about $60. If you go with an ATX size motherboard, the Lee & Lee V100R in either black or white for just $75 has been my go-to in 2026. It's a premium PC case now with budget to mid-range pricing and comes with 4 included ARGB fans, including 3 reverse blade intake fans on the side. And we used it in our Ryzen 9850 X3D build guide. The Montech XR for $70, also good value if you can't find that Lee & Lee case, and we've used it in previous builds with 3 included ARGB fans, including 2 reverse blade intake fans. Corsair has also dropped the price of their 3500X case to about $80, but it does need a rear intake fan. If you want a front intake PC case, I love the Montech XR Wood. It's a cheap mid-range option with 4 included ARGB fans for about $70. If you want something more premium, consider the Corsair 4000D Frame RS with very premium finishes for about $90, though you will need an additional fan for the rear exhaust. And if you want even more options, check out our Best PC Case 2026 video. Let's talk about power supply, or PSU for short. If you haven't seen our How to Buy a PSU 2026 guide, we cover how to size and buy the best unit for your build. based on unit quality rather than the nonsensical 80 plus ratings. I'm going to leave it linked in the video description below. But basically, I take the rated power draw and PC part picker of all the components and I multiply it by 1.5 to get the minimum wattage. Because the Ryzen 7600X3D and 7500X3D are so power efficient, many builds won't require much more than 650 to 750 watts using this formula. For more value-focused builds, I think a unit rated C tier on the SPL PSU tier list is probably fine, like the Roswell VSB 650 watt for $50. But if you can, then I'd spend just a little bit more on a B tier or A tier rated unit, like the Roswell VMG 750 watt that we used in this build, the Sama GT 750 watt, or similar PSU. I put together two build templates to get you started. The first is a best value build with the Ryzen 7600X3D for $240, but this also works for the 7500X3D. It uses a budget tower air cooler, a value-focused B650 micro ATX size motherboard, 16 gigabytes of DDR5 6000 non-RGB RAM, a 1 terabyte budget NVMe SSD, a value micro ATX PC case, and the cheapest current 600 watt or better C-tier rated PSU. Now, not including the GPU, this build comes in at just over $800 and would pair really well with a wide range of GPUs. If we use a Newegg RAM combo and motherboard deal, the cost comes down to about $50. For a more premium build that doesn't stray too far from value, I've added a value-oriented 360mm all-in-one liquid cooler. I've used a mid-range ATX size motherboard. I've gone with an RGB kit on the RAM, and I've used the same best value 1 terabyte NVMe SSD while upgrading the case to a more premium ATX size one and upgrading the power supply to a 750 watt A tier rated unit. That comes out to just about $980, and it doesn't factor any RAM combo deals, which I would definitely urge you to check out before buying everything. Obviously, you can spend more if you want, but these templates should get you started. Remember to check everything out linked down in the video description for current pricing and availability, and put some alternative parts down there for you as well, and our How to Build a PC playlist, including our guide on how to build a PC and set up your PC after you build. If you got value out of this video, please give it a like. This makes a huge difference to the channel. And of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. And we'll catch you on the next one.